Ask a Gen Xer about childhood and memories often arrive like movie scenes, bikes on lawns, a friend yelling from the pavement, a favorite song on the radio. It feels unusually vivid. So was Gen X really the most satisfying era to grow up in, or does memory make it feel that way? First, there was never one Gen X childhood. A kid in rural Britain, suburban America, inner city Canada, or a struggling household could experience the same decade differently. Generation labels are cultural tools, not psychological laws. This is not a verdict on everyone born from 1965 to 1980, but an investigation of recurring patterns. For many Gen Xers, childhood unfolded across the 1970s and 1980s, with adolescence stretching into the early 1990s. This was a world of landlines, scheduled television, cassette tapes, arcades, early home computers, and cable. Technology mattered, but it had not yet become a personalized layer over every waking moment. That difference matters because nostalgia does not begin with statistics. It begins with texture, a screen door, the wait for a friend to call back, a Saturday afternoon with nowhere to be. Ordinary details can feel enormous decades later because childhood memory is tied to emotion, identity, and first experiences. One famous Gen X image is the latchkey child. During the 1970s and 1980s, more mothers with children entered paid work, and unsupervised after-school time became a visible issue. For some children, that meant making snacks, solving problems, managing time, and learning what happened when no adult immediately stepped in. That freedom may explain part of the era's appeal. Research on children's independent mobility links it with physical activity and opportunities for social and developmental growth. Autonomy also matters psychologically. Meaningful choices can support competence, but independence is not automatically healthy because adults are absent. Context decides whether freedom feels empowering or frightening, and that is where nostalgia can cheat. The same unsupervised afternoon one adult remembers as freedom might be remembered by another as loneliness. Less supervision could mean adventure, but also danger or responsibilities a child was not ready to carry. A satisfying memory and a safe childhood are not always the same. Then there was boredom, the kind with no instant rescue button. No infinite scroll, no on-demand library, no algorithm noticing your attention drifting. When nothing was happening, children often had to invent something. Build a fort, draw, wander, make up a game, annoy a sibling, or stare at the ceiling until an idea appeared. Research on unstructured play gives this some support, though not the exaggerated version. Reviews find encouraging links with physical activity, imaginative behavior, and some developmental outcomes, while noting limits in the evidence. Boredom did not magically create stronger minds. It simply left more occasions for children to generate their own next move. Another ingredient was waiting. You waited for a television episode, a song on the radio, a movie at the video shop, a letter, a phone call, a birthday. Psychology research shows anticipation can add enjoyment, especially around experiences. That does not prove scheduled TV made people happier, but it offers an interesting clue. When access is immediate, desire and consumption can collapse into the same moment. In much of Gen X childhood, they were separated. Wanting something could last for hours, days, or weeks. That gap gave imagination time to work. An experience had a before, a during, and an after. Satisfaction sometimes began with looking forward. Media also felt more shared. Cable expanded rapidly through the 1980s, but entertainment was still far less personalized than today's feeds. Friends were more likely to encounter the same shows, songs, films, games, and advertisements. That did not make culture better. It did make common reference points easier to create. Social life was also more geographically stubborn. Friends met at school, on the street, in parks, malls, arcades, or someone's house. Without group chats and social feeds, many relationships required physical coordination. You had to show up, knock on a door, call a household phone, or risk finding nobody home. That friction could be inconvenient, but it sometimes made experiences more distinct. A mall trip was an event, renting a movie involved a journey and a choice. Meeting friends required a plan or luck. Modern convenience removes frustrations, which is valuable, but when everything becomes easier to access, fewer moments announce themselves as occasions. There is also the question of attention. Gen X children were distracted by television, siblings, classrooms, daydreams, music, and games. They were not attention superheroes. What they largely lacked was one pocket device carrying messages, entertainment, news, comparison, work, and reminders, capable of interrupting almost any activity at almost any time. Experiments show phone notifications can impair performance on attention-demanding tasks, even without full engagement with the device. Other studies find that simply having a phone nearby does not always produce the same effect. The evidence supports interruption costs more clearly than the claim that smartphones have permanently damaged a generation's brain. So perhaps one satisfying feature of the Gen X environment was not superior attention, but fewer channels competing for it. A bike ride could just be a bike ride. A film ended when the television turned off. A conversation could finish without another one vibrating in your pocket. The difference may be environmental, not biological. But now the story has to turn on itself, because every argument about the good old days has a hidden witness: memory. We are asking adults to judge a period filled with first friendships, first independence, first music obsessions, first crushes, and first glimpses of who they might become. Autobiographical memory research repeatedly finds a reminiscence bump. Adults tend to retrieve a disproportionate number of memories from adolescence and early adulthood. The exact age range varies with the cue, but the pattern is robust. In other words, the years people call their defining era are also years the mind keeps bringing back. Nostalgia adds another layer. Studies describe it as a deeply social emotion that can increase feelings of connectedness, continuity, meaning, and sometimes optimism. When an old song returns you to a school dance or long-gone bedroom, you are not merely retrieving information. You are reconnecting your present self with a former self. And memory is not a neutral recording. Research suggests positive information can receive special weight under some conditions. Negative experiences do not vanish, and not everyone remembers positively, but the emotional balance of the past can shift. The childhood you remember at 50 is not identical to the childhood you experienced at 12. That means Gen X nostalgia may contain two truths at once. The environment really was different, and memory may amplify what now feels precious. More independence, slower communication, fewer digital interruptions, and shared cultural moments can be genuine experiences. Adulthood can also transform ordinary inconvenience into charm and forgotten discomfort into softer background. There is an uncomfortable possibility. Sometimes people do not miss an era as much as they miss being young inside it. They miss friends who lived nearby, summers that felt endless, adults who were still alive, and futures that had not yet narrowed. Nostalgia can attach those universal losses to specific objects, and the past carried costs nostalgia must not erase. Some children experienced bullying with little support, unsafe homes, discrimination, family instability, or isolation. Less adult involvement sometimes meant freedom, and sometimes meant nobody noticed a problem. The same era produced beloved memories and experiences many adults would never want repeated. Even within Gen X, the story changed by income, neighborhood, country, race, family structure, gender, and birth year. Someone born in 1965 could remember a childhood far removed from someone born in 1980. Generations reveal shared historical pressures. They mislead when we confuse a cultural pattern with a universal personality. And Gen X was never truly before technology. Cable grew quickly. Home video changed movie watching. Video games moved from arcades into homes. Personal computers became more familiar. The difference was not technology's absence. Digital life had not yet fused communication, entertainment, identity, shopping, work, and social status into one continuous stream. This may be the heart of the satisfaction question. Gen X childhood often contained more friction, more waiting, more uncertainty, fewer instant answers, more effort to coordinate, fewer escapes from boredom. Friction can frustrate, yet some forms also create anticipation, agency, and memorable transitions. Removing obstacles improves life, but can change how moments stand out. Modern childhood has gains nostalgia can overlook: easier access to information, communities for isolated young people, more ways to connect across distance, better creative tools, and greater public awareness of psychological and social problems. The lesson is not that children need less progress, it is that progress can solve one problem while quietly creating another. So was Gen X the most satisfying era to grow up in? There is no scientific scoreboard that can crown one generation, but many Gen X adults have reasons to remember youth as satisfying: autonomy, anticipation, local connection, shared culture, fewer persistent interruptions, and a memory system that gives formative years extraordinary emotional power. Maybe what Gen X misses is not the 1980s or 1990s themselves. Maybe it is a life with more space around experiences. Time to wait, wander, be unreachable, and let an ordinary afternoon become important. The useful question is not how to go back. It is how much of that space we can bring forward.